Welcome. I'm excited to talk to you about hormones and your liver today. So, hopefully, that's an exciting topic for you as well. But I work with so many women who struggle with their hormones, whether they're having heavy periods or irregular periods or missing periods. Maybe they're having PMS and cramps and irritability, moodiness, breast tenderness, acne, or issues like fibroids and endometriosis. Well, I want to share with you what you can do to start getting things back into balance if you're struggling with any type of signs of hormone imbalance. I'm Michelle. I'm a functional nutrition practitioner, a clinical herbalist. And today we're going to dive into why supporting your liver is really essential when it comes to any kind of hormone imbalance. And it's really true that no matter where you're at in your cycle or your lifespan, whether you're just starting to have a period or you're in menopause, that there are only really a few root causes for hormone imbalance. And all of these really uncomfortable symptoms that are showing up are actually your body trying to tell you something is out of balance. And so, really want to tune in and listen to that, right? Because that is why these symptoms show up. Your body's asking for some attention and just trying to mask the symptoms with hormone replacement therapy, or maybe even using hormones from your doctor, right? There's a chance to miss out on what your body's really asking for if we don't address the underlying causes of hormone imbalance. And again, there are really only a few. Let's talk about what those are, and then we're going to really focus in on one specific area that is almost always a part of the picture when we're struggling with our hormones. So, of course, when I think about what causes hormone imbalance, just stress can be a big player here, right? And lifestyle factors. If we're not sleeping enough, if we're not, taking care of our body, if we're not exercising or we're over exercising, I've seen that cause some problems with hormones in my own life when I was younger, as well in clients that I work with. So, stress can play a role here. But on a biology level, I think of blood sugar imbalance and insulin resistance often being one of the bigger factors that I see causing hormone imbalance. And I would relate that as well to nutrient deficiencies because I see that a lot as well. And certain nutrient deficiencies can really impact our hormones. And this might show up if we're not really eating enough or maybe limited in our diet. It can be related to gut health as well. Like if we're just not absorbing nutrients well because of some gut issues, that can be one of our main players in hormone imbalance. And I see that so often in the women I work with. And gut health can also create a lot of inflammation if we have some disrupted microbiome or other factors, toxins that are coming in through the gut. But really, all of this is creating a picture of inflammation, and that can impact our liver function and how we're able to detox, toxins, but also estrogens and other hormones. And if we aren't able to detox these estrogens well, then we start recycling estrogen, right? And it starts to create an imbalance in our hormones. We may have too much estrogen compared to progesterone, and that balance is actually really important when it comes to keeping our hormones balanced. And in fact, thinking of that topic of gut health, I was looking at a study just this morning, and the title of this study, this was published in the Journal of Gynecological Endocrinology in 2014, and the title is Metabolic Endotoxemia, a potential novel link between ovarian inflammation and impaired progesterone production. So what that's saying is that when we have a disruption in our gut microbiome, we have some gut pathogens. What they do is they basically create their own toxins that are called LPS, lipopolysaccharides. And these, again, create a lot of inflammation in the gut, and that then can become systemic, right? That can impact other areas of the body, including the ovaries. And in the study, they looked at the levels basically of LPS in the gut and how it was impacting markers of inflammation. So they looked at markers like interleukin 6, which is an inflammatory cytokine. They measured CRP levels in the blood. CRP is C reactive protein. It's just a marker that can really tell us how much inflammation is showing up, right? The higher your CRP level, the more inflammation, right, that you are likely experiencing. And what they found, especially within the ovary, this interleukin 6 cytokine was correlated with endotoxemia, so bad gut bacteria that were increasing these markers of inflammation. And then they correlated that to interfering with progesterone production. And again, the balance of progesterone and estrogen is a really big significant player in why we experience these uncomfortable symptoms of hormone imbalance. When we aren't metabolizing estrogen well, there are different pathways that estrogens can be metabolized down, and things like insulin resistance and inflammation can impact how estrogen is metabolized. Maybe you've heard of dirty estrogens, right? If you've heard that term, you know there are certain type of estrogen metabolites that are problematic, that increase inflammation. There's one pathway, for example, where if we create more of the 4-hydroxyestrone and it's not metabolized correctly, it creates a toxin called quinones. And these have been shown to cause DNA damage. So we want to make sure we're metabolizing these hormones correctly. And that is the job of the liver to do that. And so we definitely want to make sure we're supporting our liver health. And there are a few herbs that I think are really beautiful in helping us to do this. So let's talk about just a few of these, okay? I can't talk about supporting the liver without thinking of some of our bitter herbs like dandelion root. Dandelion root is really lovely because as a bitter herb, it helps to support bile production, right? Stimulates that bile regulation. And bile is actually a big player in terms of our detoxification pathways, especially of things like hormones and estrogens. So if we aren't binding up these estrogens and getting them out through the bowel, right, through the poop, then we are recycling estrogens into the body. And again, this can have a big impact on that estrogen to progesterone balance. As a bitter, dandelion root also helps with that bowel transit time, right? And one way it does that is through regulating bile, because bile is a big player in supporting gut motility, or that amount of time it takes to move food through our digestive system. And so if you're experiencing constipation, you're not having at least one healthy, good daily bowel movement, then you really want to be thinking about supporting the gut and really working on your bowel transit time. And these bitter herbs like dandelion root can be really, really good for this. So any constipation, be thinking of those bitter herbs. Dandelion root also has inulin, and now inulin can be problematic for some people who have an imbalance in their gut bacteria, especially if you've been diagnosed with like SIBO, for example. But for most people, inulin is a prebiotic, right? It feeds the good gut bacteria. And so that can really help with that, supporting a healthy gut, which is really, really important as well as supporting the liver. So dandelion root's really lovely for supporting estrogen metabolism in the liver. Another bitter herb that's really valuable here is artichoke. Artichoke is also a bitter, so it's going to help support bile flow as well. There's also some research showing that artichoke helps with the symptoms of metabolic syndrome, and that impact is impacted by our glucose metabolism, right? So if there's some insulin resistance, any kind of disruption in our glucose metabolism, then artichoke can be really lovely here. But artichoke also inhibits aromatase, and aromatase is a big player actually in our estrogen metabolism. So it's an enzyme that it helps to turn our androgen hormones into estrogen, which is a good thing when we need estrogen. But if we have too much aromatase, then we can be creating too much estrogen. And then we start seeing all of these signs of estrogen dominance that we've already talked about. So we want to make sure we're supporting healthy levels of aromatase, kind of keeping that aromatase in check, if you will, and getting your blood sugar under control and regulating insulin response is one of the most foundational things you can do there. And again, artichoke is going to be really lovely for that. One more bitter. Those bitters are so wonderful for the liver. And this one is hops. Now, you probably know if you watch my channel that I love hops. I have a whole video on hops. We talk about how it's also a digestive bitter. It's a GLP-1 agonist. It helps to regulate blood sugar. And it also helps to support that 4-hydroxy metabolism of estrogens. Remember when we were talking about those dirty estrogens? Well, again, if this particular form of estrogen or estrone is not metabolized correctly, this is where it creates those quinones that I was talking about. And those are associated with that oxidative stress and DNA damage that shows up as those accelerated signs of aging. It's been shown to increase aging of the ovaries. And that's one of those signs of hormone balance that I know we all want to avoid. So hops can be really lovely here at supporting estrogen metabolism. We know it's also a nervine that helps with sleep and regulating our nervous system. Hops is pretty wonderful stuff. And so those bitter herbs, they are just amazing at supporting the liver, helping to metabolize estrogen and balance hormones. But there is one more herb I have to mention because it is an adaptogen, and you know how I love adaptogens as well. And this is Schizandra. And Schizandra is actually really lovely adaptogen. So it helps to regulate our HPA axis response to stress. But it's also been shown to lower blood sugar. We know that's really important in regulating our hormones. And it's also been shown to really support liver function by increasing glutathione levels. Glutathione, if you are familiar with glutathione, you may have heard it called the master antioxidant of the body. And so all of this oxidative stress and inflammation we keep talking about really taxes the liver. And glutathione basically helps to kind of quench all of that oxidative stress and inflammation. So we want to have good levels of glutathione. And Schizandra helps to support the healthy levels of glutathione production because we actually make that in the liver. And if we don't have adequate levels, right, there's a lot of inflammation that's damaging our DNA and our cells and creating this aging process and other uncomfortable symptoms that we want to address. Before we wrap up, I want to just talk about methylation as well, because this is a big player in how we can support estrogen metabolism. Now, methylation is basically just this process of adding a methyl group to a molecule. And that can be a molecule of DNA or a protein. And basically, it's like a signaling molecule. It kind of turns on gene expression or turns it off. And it plays a role as well in our detoxification. In fact, it's one of our main detoxification pathways, and it really can help with detoxing estrogen as well. Now, you might think of glucuronidation, if you know a little bit about estrogen metabolism, as one of our pathways for detoxing excess estrogens, but methylation is important here too, so we don't want to ignore it. And in order to support methylation, I would just be eating a lot of foods that are methyl donors. They have the nutrients that supply the nutrients we need to create these methyl groups and methylate well. So things like liver, beef or chicken liver, chickpeas or other beans and lentils, beets, maybe egg yolks or berries or spinach. And some of our cruciferous veggies like broccoli or other sulfur-containing veggies like onions are really helpful here in supporting methylation, as well as a few herbs that I want to mention, things that you can just use as food like green tea and turmeric and rosemary. So eat your greens, eat your berries, eat your liver, eat your eggs, because these will all really support healthy methylation and help with estrogen metabolism. And that is going to really impact your ability to keep your hormones regulated, have those nice, healthy monthly cycles, go through perimenopause and menopause without all of those really uncomfortable symptoms and address some of those other hormonal issues like fibroids and endometriosis that so many women struggle with today. So supporting your liver is really essential when we're talking about getting those hormones in balance. So make sure that you're bringing these herbs and foods into your day-to-day life, getting your blood sugar balance, supporting the liver, and you're going to be on the right track. See you next time.